Okay, so what's next? We did retrospectives. We can start like moving down through what we have here. Let's do Andon Chord next. I didn't really like put this in a like specific order, but rather the order I sort of like thought of as I do this. Okay, so the Andon Chord is something really fascinating. I didn't actually know about it until I started working this job here. My CTO introduced it to me. So Toyota invented pretty much like lean, like modern lean manufacturing. And for all the like all the crap that they're getting into with like politics, we could ignore all of that and just like focus on what they're doing as like a business to be able to basically be able to like pump out high quality products in like a short period of time, and how they rose to power as like a dominant car manufacturer in the 90s and like 2000s, because they did something pretty amazing, and they got to the point where now all the other car manufacturers and all physical manufacturers are really just copying what Toyota did. And it's like super fascinating. And they claim that one of the things is this Andon Chord idea. So let's let's say we have a assembly line here, and we have cars moving through the assembly line. And people are at each station adding them on. And so assembly lines, I mean, they were invented by Ford way back in like the early 1900s. Maybe even before then, I don't remember. But everything is like on this track. And so essentially the track is moving. People are at each station. And so like a person is here, they, put on a wheel or something. Now it's done by robots with somebody like watching over the robot, and then the car moves forward, and then they work on the next thing over here. Now whether or not like that specific thing is done anymore doesn't really matter now. What matters is in Toyota, and they've been very public about this, so I'm very confident to say this, they have an actual cord hanging down at every station. Because it's line, right? Pencil. And anybody, like from a janitor to the person working at the station to a manager to the CEO, can walk up to one of these stations and pull the Andon cord. And when you pull the Andon cord, the entire production line halts. All the cars stop moving forward, and then they do what's called swarming. Everyone comes and swarms around, from managers to like everyone who's around and available comes and gathers around, and you diagnose what the problem is. Why did we pull this Andon? Well, maybe like, we're working on the side doors, let's say, like the driver's side door. The driver's side door like has a really bad dent in it here, and it shouldn't be here. That's a problem. Well, let's look. Oh crap, the one behind it has that too, and the one behind that. This is a problem. So let's figure out what's going on. Oh, there's a machine is broken 3 stations back. Okay, well that's what's causing it. We just noticed it here. So let's go all and fix that machine right now. Get everything back up to like top quality, and then we'll keep on going, and we undo the Andon cord, and everything starts moving forward again. By doing that, Toyota ensured that they would have minimal waste by let's say it was like these 3 cars were made with these bad side doors. They only made 3 cars with bad side doors. They didn't even finish making them. They made them to this halfway made point when they realized the problem, pulled the Andon cord, fixed the problem, and now they can just like remove those doors, send the cars back, and like redo that again. Does the person try to figure out where the problem is by oneself before pulling the cord? No, that's the beauty of this, is all you have to do is know that there's a problem and then pull the cord. Because you might not have all the information, and what Toyota was doing was trying to say, look, we want to minimize waste at an organizational level, not at a personal level, but an organizational level. So I don't know how true this story is, but I've been told it by like several different people. So there, it may or may not be true. And I've heard it from like different car manufacturers. We're gonna choose Ford and Toyota because they're the 2 biggest ones back when this story supposedly was talked about, which I've heard many times between like the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s. So who knows? A Ford executive was bragging at a conference, at a car manufacturer's conference, that they had employed the best like hammerers. Like, they could take a panel from a car, and like if there was a ding in the car when it came out, they could like hammer that away and remove it and make it look perfect. And if the door wasn't like fitting perfectly right, they would be able to like just hammer it a little bit and then get the door to fit perfectly after it was off the manufacturing line, which meant there was less waste because the cars could now be sold, whereas before they'd have to be, they were lost. And the Toyota executive said, well, we don't have to hire such a person because we don't let a car get finished unless it's perfect. So we don't have to do that. This is what that means. Pull the Andon cord as soon as a problem is detected, fix the problem as the team, and then everything starts moving forward again. There's this huge field of management and leadership and like how things get done. And there's like 2 big philosophies here. Deming came up with this one, total quality management. I think that's what it is. TQM, total quality management. And then Taylor came up with scientific management. I forget exactly what it's called, but basically it's now like Taylorism versus TQM. I am very much on the side of Deming's work. And I am not a fan of like almost anything that came out of the Taylorist side. So that is something that I am willing to like talk a lot about and do lots of arguments about. Ironically, even though there's a lot of science talk in the Taylorist side, I don't feel that there's much actual science in there. But as an example, the Taylorist side is where you tell, like, give money to your employees or remove money from your employees as a way to ensure that they work hard and show up. Like, that's where that comes from. Whereas Deming was make sure that your employees have agency and then pay them enough that they don't care about money, and then you will always have the highest quality and like work. You won't have to worry about workers not showing up. Completely opposite philosophies. Toyota went with Deming, and they did become a top. They owned the world for a while with cars. So there is that. So what does an Andon Chord look like in software development? To me, an Andon chord is a very similar thing. You run into a problem, and then before very long, like let's see, when we so individual contributors run into a problem that take more time than we think it should, then we quotes, because like there's no physical Andon chord. Although I've always wanted to like create like a button you can smash and like Andon chord, and then like, you know, a big red like light shows up in everybody's office, or like at home, and then like you can swarm. Then we pull the Andon chord, and the team stops everything that we are doing and swarm on the problem. Okay, so I can almost hear a bunch of people like gasping. But what about flow? Aren't you pulling people out of flow? Isn't that like literally the worst thing you could possibly do, is like take somebody from what they're doing and like we all swarm on this like problem? And my response is yes. But the flow, like there's two types of flow that we're concerned about here. Individual flow is important and it's good, but organizational flow is also really important and really good. And what that means here is if we run into a problem where somebody cannot work or has like become really, really, really slow at that work, that's sort of like no longer treating a team as one boat, but now a team would be made up of really tiny boats. Like that. All inside of here. If one team member gets left behind, the entire team is slowed down. It's not like we can just say, oh, well, you know, we loved having Jimmy working with us, but you know, they ran into a bug and they couldn't figure it out, and we don't actually care about, you know, teamwork, so we just like threw them a lifesaver, and we just like we're continuing on because we have a, you know, we can't stop for them. So yeah, we did let somebody drown, but it's okay. There's still two of us left. Yeah, that organizational flow means we're all in this together. We are moving to the end, and we're getting it done together. Also, the thing that stops somebody might be really, 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 really important that we need to fix that. So, for example, something that really happened to like my team was our tests were terrible. We had like terrible tests. Like we had tests, that's good, but they were taking like just over time, they started taking like 25 minutes to run and get done. And sometimes they would fail for no reason. And you have to rerun them just to see whether or not that was a true failure or not. So it could be an hour just to find out whether or not the code you wrote works in deployment. That is terrible, terrible. So we pulled the Andon chord, and we all swarmed, and we discovered, well, there were some of these tests that were like, had these like weird halts and like waits in them. So we spent some time rewriting some of those tests, and we got everything down to 10 minutes, which is, you know, is it perfect? No. But is it good enough for like what we need to do? Absolutely it was. So then we like broke off and went back to our own things, but now we all had the benefit of having these faster tests for us. So that is like the type of thing that you can get benefit from by using something like the Andon chord. The other thing is now we all learn. Like this is a learning opportunity. The Japanese term for it, from what I understand, I don't speak Japanese, so I might be like translating this, is kaizen. Also probably mispronouncing that. horrifically too, so sorry if you're Japanese. Kaizen is like the continuous improvement for this. So we pull the Andon chord and we have a Kaizen meeting where we then, what's the problem? Why is it a problem? Is it really a problem? And let's fix the problem right now. And then we all break off, but now we're all have more knowledge because of that. Now, flow is important. I mentioned that like, hey, we broke everybody out of flow. And now we go all back off to like going to our individual things again. This is where anything that you can do, so experiments to try to allow yourself to drop back into flow quickly. So you want to drop out of flow and into flow several times, but rapidly. And that's what an Andon chord gets you. Okay, so like when there's a problem, pull the Andon chord. Okay, what's next? I think, let's see. Velocity and types of work are actually, you notice I have them at different levels.